with you on the call.
Okay, sure. That would be great.
Okay. So the first one, I always take extra care of equipment that others may use. I put as dependable or considerate. I wasn't 100% sure which competency it was. So it's yeah, maybe a second opinion from Brent might be advisable there as well.
Okay.
But I marked it as a 5.
Okay. So, just as a recap, so we don't confuse ourselves, those competencies that you place under dependable and considerate, those are the ones that are required of firefighters, right? And we just put it on there for emphasis for us to be guided in answering our own work style exam.
So every test, every psychometric assessment has its own competency framework. And so I looked online. I have a sample report from CEB work styles. So I have all their competencies.
Okay.
So what I did was I used their competencies, and then we have to obviously think within a firefighter profile. I also used, Brent sent me a profile from another personality assessment that I also used as guidance.
Great. That's great. Thank you.
But would obviously be a good idea for Brent to look at this as well and give his opinion, because he's got more of a firefighter background.
No problems. I'll let him know.
Okay, so the first one is dependable or considerate. I couldn't quite decide on that one, so I put both there, but it is a 5.
Okay.
Then I feel I should leave things tidy and in order at the end of the day. That's detail conscious, and that's a 5.
Okay.
I always admit my mistakes. That's dependable, and that's also a 5.
Okay.
So essentially dependable means, let me quickly get the definition for you. It means hardworking, conscientious, and trustworthy, respects authority, and perseveres with routine tasks.
Okay.
So in my mind, that would always be a 5 in a firefighter profile.
Yep.
Okay. I believe that time should be spent on planning. The competency is forward thinking. And I marked a lot of the forward thinking questions a 3, because forward thinking means forward looking, prepares well in advance, plans and organizes work, and likes structure. The lower end of the competency means tends to deal with problems as they arise, spends little time on detailed planning or preparing things in advance. I marked all forward-thinking competencies as a 3 because I feel it sits in the middle.
Yeah, because you mentioned that
can't always plan.
Yeah, they need to be flexible.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Then I don't often make up my mind right away. That's decisive. I've also marked a lot of the decisive competencies as 3 because on the high end of decisive, it means likes to resolve problems quickly, jumps to conclusions, impatient, and maybe impulsive. So you don't want a firefighter to be too impulsive or jump to a conclusion without thinking things through either. And on the lower end of that competency, it means deliberates decisions thoroughly, considers all options, and may be hesitant or overly cautious. So I mark the firefighter in the middle of that competency.
Okay.
Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Then it is important to me that I do well in my job. That's achieving, and I put that as a 5. Achieving means needs to do well, ambitious, results-oriented, and demanding on self. So I think that's quite important for a firefighter. Okay. Then I enjoy practical things that are broken. So I've asked for a second opinion on practical, okay? Because on the higher end of practical, it means likes making or repairing things, enjoys using hands, and interested in how things work. On the lower end, it means avoiding practical work and prefers leaving essential repairs to others, not especially interested in how things work.
Okay.
So as a firefighter, you don't necessarily make or repair things, but you also need to work with your hands. So I've marked it as a 3, and I think it's worth getting a second opinion from Brent.
Okay, thank you. Oh, for the ones that need Brent's second opinion, can we highlight them in yellow so they're easier to see?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Then I like to bend rules sometimes. It's dependable, and that's a 1. Can you see how the items sometimes are reverse scored?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I like being in charge. That's assertive. I marked it as a 4 because a firefighter has to be assertive and be able to lead. But also, if they're not applying for a leadership role in firefighting, you don't want to mark it too strongly.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Then I feel uneasy when meeting people for the first time. So the competency is socially confident, and I put that as a 1 because a firefighter has to be socially confident. They're working with different people all the time.
Yeah.
Then enjoy repairing broken things. Again, it's practical, so second opinion. I love being on the go, and that refers to being active. So it refers to being energetic, restless, and prefers to keep busy, which is the firefighter's role essentially. So I mark that a 5. Then I get easily upset. That refers to resilience. And resilience means to be calm, steady under pressure, not easily hurt, and not upset by criticism. So I mark that as a 1 because you obviously have to be very resilient being a firefighter. I am good at finding out-of-the-box solutions to problems. I mark that as, sorry, that's innovative. I don't know how I wrote that.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. That's innovative. So innovative, on the high end of innovative, it means coming up with ideas and novel solutions, creativity, looking for new ways of doing things. On the lower end of innovative, it means having few original ideas and tends to adopt predictable solutions to problems and unlikely to be creative. So I question the creativity myself and within the firefighting role. Creative doesn't necessarily mean like painting art. And in the other personality profile from Brent, they've actually marked it also quite high. The innovative creativity, finding new ideas to problems type thing. So throughout the document, I've marked innovative either 3 or 4.
Okay.
Okay. Then I work better on my own. Firefighting is all about being team orientated. So that's a 1. It's a reverse scored item. I don't mind losing. That refers to the competitive competency, which I also asked for a second opinion. Because competitive on the high end means determined to win, accepts the challenge, may be a poor loser. On the lower end, it's not obsessed with winning, not interested in getting the better of others, prepared to give away or back down. So in terms of firefighting, sometimes you have to be adamant to win, otherwise you never put out the fire. That was my sense making.
I actually agree.
Yeah. So I'll just get a second opinion from Brent, but I marked it a 3. Okay, then I'm unlikely to show I'm really annoyed, even if I already am. And that refers to the competency of being emotionally controlled. And that's a 5. So obviously firefighters can get annoyed by bystanders as well, but you always have to remain calm and be sensitive to people around you.
Yeah.
I usually welcome change. That's adaptable. That's a 5. I often keep my feelings to myself, emotionally controlled. I mark that as a 4. So sometimes there can be a range within these things as well. So like you'll see emotionally controlled, I've marked all a 4 or a 5.
Okay.
Okay. I find it difficult to be cheerful sometimes. That refers to being optimistic. Optimistic refers to being cheerful, keeping spirits up despite setbacks, and has a positive outlook. So that's quite important for a firefighter. So this is a reverse scored item, so it's a 1. People are less likely to call me creative, which refers to innovative competency. So I mark that a 3. I always play to win. Again, competitive, marked at a 3. I'm traditional and prefer sticking to tried and tested things. So that's adaptable. I marked it at 2, again, speaking about that range. I prefer to be part of a team, so team orientated a 5.
Right. And Lahan, I do have a question.
Yes.
Going through this exam, I noticed that either some questions repeat themselves or are, either positive or negative rephrasing of the additional question that I have, is that to measure like consistency?
Yeah, so what they often do is it's called a reverse scoring an item. So it's the other way, it's like the negative version.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also just to make sure the person changes their way of thinking.
Oh, okay.
So often a person sometimes people will honestly just go 4, 4, 4, 4, 4.
Yeah.
Because they get into the routine.
Okay.
So it's to make sure that people are actually paying attention to the questions and looking for consistency.
Alrighty. So it is very important that we read through all the questions, because even though the test is easy, it's also a bit tricky sometimes.
Yes. So interestingly, I did see I thought maybe it was a typing error, and I was actually going to ask you about that.
Mm-hmm.
They've actually included, if it's not a typing error, then they've actually included the same questions later on. So often what happens is you have items or questions that are very similar, but yet it actually got repeated questions, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm traditional and prefer sticking to tried and tested things, adaptable. I much prefer to be part of a team. 5, team orientation. I find it difficult speaking with people I only met. So that's a reverse scored item for socially confident. So that's a 1. Persuading people is not one of my strengths. So that's assertive. It's again a reverse scored item. So it's a 2. A day's work tires me out. A reverse scored item for active. So that's a 1. I'm not very good at fixing things. Again, second, scored at a 3, like everything else from the practical competency, but get a second opinion. I work just as hard even when I'm bored. So that's achieving. That's a 5. Criticism does not easily upset me. Refers to resilience, and that's a 5. I believe preparation is very important for all tasks. Again, that's forward thinking, a 3. I want to succeed in everything I do, achieving, a 5. I prefer to let others check the details for me. Again, a reverse scored item of detail conscious, or 1. I don't like listening to other people's problems. Again, consider it for a reverse scored item, a 1. People irritate me sometimes, reverse scored item of emotionally controlled, so it's a 1. I usually decide very quickly, that's a 3. Are you getting all of this, Loreen? Am I going too fast?
No, I'm good. I'm actually reading them.
Okay. I don't like telling others what to do. Assertive, so that's a 2, again reverse scored. I feel uneasy in formal situations, reverse scored of socially confident, so it's a 1. I'm able to ignore harsh criticisms usually, so that's resilience, that's a 5. I don't like manual labor. I'm going to put 2 here, 2 markings, because that's a practical competency. Second opinion. So if you look at it from a theoretical point of view, we've marked all practical competency items as a 3.
Mm-hmm.
However, firefighting does need manual labor, so I marked it as a 1.
Okay.
Okay, so just give a second opinion for Brent. Cutting corners is not a problem if I meet my deadline. So that's a reverse scored item of dependable. So that's a 1. I rarely run out of energy. That's active. So that's a 5. I prefer not dwelling too much on planning. So that's forward thinking, a 3. People anger me sometimes. Reverse scored item of emotionally controlled, which is a 1. I don't enjoy work that involves a lot of details. So that's detail conscious. I put it's one as a 2. Again, speaking about the range, firefighting isn't just only a detailed job either. So that's why I put a 2. I'm not very ambitious. So that's the reverse scored item of achieving, 1. I decide quickly. So that's decisive, 3. I'm not always interested in the welfare of others. So that's the considerate competency and a reverse scored item. So that's 1. Few things really get me down. Optimistic, 5. I don't like competing with others. Competitive, 3. I adapt easily to changing circumstances. So that's adaptable, and a 5. Don't always enjoy team activities. So that's your team orientation, and it's a reverse scored item. So it's a 1. People normally know just how I'm feeling. That's emotionally controlled. So that's a reverse scored item. That's a 1. I often think of better ways of doing things. So that's innovative, and that's a 5. So it's actually supposed to be a 3.
Okay.
I really feel sad or upset. So that's optimistic, which is a 5. I am more effective when working on my own. Team orientation, negative scored item or reverse scored items. That's a 1. I usually hide my irritation when something annoys me. Emotionally controlled. 5. I'm not really known for my ingenuity. So this refers to social desirability. Also, I need a second opinion on social desirability for firefighting. So social desirability means, on the higher end, means has tended to respond in a socially desirable way, tries to show self in a good light, whereas on the lower end, tends to be rather self-critical, less concerned with making a good impression. So I scored it a 3. Winning is not everything to me, so it's competitive, a 3. I am very open to new approaches, adaptable, a 5. I don't concern myself too much on details, reverse scored item, on detail conscious, so that's a 1. I make decisions without delay, that's decisive, and a 3. People say I'm very considerate, 5. Being a success is not really important to me, so that's a reverse scored item of achieving. I sometimes gossip about people. I put that as dependable, and that's a 1 because it's a reverse scored item of dependable. I don't think I'm quite as organized as most people. So I put that as a 2. Again, normally I'd be put forward thinking as a 3, but we're just looking at the range. I'm good at communicating convincing arguments, so that's assertive, a 4. I don't feel shy when I meet new people, socially confident, a 5. I find building things very satisfying, so that's practical, and that's a 3. I worry about what people think of me, social desirability, that's a 3. The quality of my work may vary from day to day. It's a reverse scored item of dependable, so that's 1. I dislike having too much to do, which is a reverse scored item of active, so that's a 1. I never say things I regret, so that's emotionally controlled, and a 5. I like to see everything in their proper place, that's detail conscious, and a 5. People rarely come to me with their problems, so that will be the reverse scored item of considerate, so that's a 1. I'm not very good at preparing things in advance, reverse scored item of forward thinking. I tend to be cautious in decision making, so that's a 3. I set high goals for myself, that's a 5. Achieving. I'm not afraid to show my feelings, and that's a 4, emotionally controlled. Again, here normally I ticked all emotionally controlled competency questions as a 5, but here I'm just putting a 4 there for the range, and also because sometimes firefighters also need to show their feelings. I believe I am more imaginative than most people. That refers to an innovative competency, which is a 3. I prefer to work with other people. Team orientation, 5. I tend to feel down when things don't work out. Reverse scored item of optimistic. It is more important for me to take part than to win. Competitive. I enjoy trying new things. Innovative. I find it difficult to win arguments. Reverse scored item of assertive. Mechanical things don't really interest me. So that's a practical competency. I sometimes run out of energy. Reverse scored item of active. I don't let people upset me. I'm resilience. I feel comfortable in formal situations. Socially confident. People would describe me as completely reliable. That's dependable. My ambition is to get promoted. That's achiever. Again, normally I've marked most achiever competencies as a 5. However, we're talking about the range, and also a firefighter's ambition should be more than just to get promoted. So I put it as a 4. I never talk about people behind their backs, so that's dependable. I would rather do my work do my own work and help co-workers with theirs. That's team orientation, negatively scored. I take time to check work thoroughly. That's detail conscious. I like to take my time in making decisions. That's decisive. I think too much time is spent on planning. So it's a reverse scored item of forward thinking. I generally have a lot of ideas, innovative. I find it difficult to hide my emotions sometimes. So that's a reverse scored item of emotionally controlled. It is important to me that I'll win, competitive. I feel happier working as part of a team orientation. I'd rather do the same task and many different tasks. Reverse scored item of adaptable. I tend to be a little pessimistic. Reverse scored item of optimistic.
Okay.
I feel at ease when with people I just met. Socially confident. I give to those authority my full support. Dependable. When there's a lot of work to do, I enjoy work less. So that's the reverse scored item of active. I'm easily offended. Reverse scored item of resilient. People think I'm a natural leader. That's assertive. I normally try to fix things when they're broken. Practical. Getting a promotion is not really important to me. Achieving. Which we actually marked 4 earlier on. So let me actually mark that as a 4 as well. Yeah. No, sorry, it's a reverse scored item. So before it was getting a promotion was important to me. So that's a 2. I really enjoy cooperating with others. Team orientation. I like to organize my work completely before I begin. Forward thinking. I am sometimes impatient with people. Reverse scored item of emotionally controlled. People would say my work is a little messy. Reverse scored item of detail conscious. I reach conclusions quickly, so that's decisive. I rarely feel downhearted, so that's optimistic. I'm not very good at thinking of new ideas. Innovative. I often show my feelings, so that's a reverse scored item of emotionally controlled. I work best in a team setting. Team orientation. I enjoy defeating others. Competitive. I find constant change rather unsettling. Reverse scored item of adaptable. I feel confident when talking to strangers. So it's 5, socially confident. I'm particularly good with my hands, practical. Insults don't bother me, resilient. I like to be active at all time, active. I feel confident when talking to strangers, socially confident. I work much harder if the job I'm doing is interesting. That's a reverse scored item of dependable. I tend to keep my feelings to myself. A 5, emotionally controlled. I think change is often disruptive. A reverse scored item of adaptable. I always stay cheerful when problems arise. Optimistic. I hate to lose at anything. Competitive. I prefer working by myself. Reverse scored item of team orientation. I seldom come up with original solutions to problems. Innovative. I like to supervise people. Assertive. I enjoy making things practical. I can easily be offended by what people say. Resilient, reverse scored item. I enjoy work most when there's a great deal to do. Active. People would describe me as being very loyal to the company. Dependable. I feel slightly uncomfortable meeting new people. Reverse scored item of socially confident. I am never rude to other people. So that's considerate. I always enjoy helping coworkers with their work. It's also considerate. I always plan my work meticulously before I start. Forward thinking. I prefer to take my time when evaluating a situation. Decisive. I like to get every detail correctly. Detail conscious. I'm never rude to other people. Considerate. So I pretty much ran through that. But are you okay with that, Lauren? Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does. We actually spoke last time about the job description helping with answering the work style exam. How does that work?
Sorry, something was speaking over on your computer. I didn't hear you properly.
Last time you mentioned that knowing the job description helps a lot with answering the work style exam. How does that work?
So what happens is every competency I've given you here has a definition for it. So then I match the competency to the job description, and I see where the person should score on the competency. So for example, like being decisive, how decisive must the person be? Sometimes companies want people to be decisive, but in a firefighter's role, we're making an assumption that we don't want them to be too decisive because you also want them to think things through properly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So if, for example, I'm taking this exam tomorrow, it would be best if I studied the job description and also the goals of the company and put it to heart with answering this type of exam.
Sorry, again, something's talking over on your computer. I didn't hear you properly.
Sorry.
Are you hearing that?
Yeah, so if, for example, I'm taking this exam tomorrow, aside from the job description, I should read the company vision, mission, and goals too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Ideally, though, would have been better to have given me the job description first, but always take that into account when being assessed. So, for example, again, when you're talking about like decisiveness, it might explain to you what their definition of decisiveness is.
I see. Gotcha. Well, I think this is it for today for us, Lakin.
Okay, perfect.